Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Debbie Vasquez. I am the Troop Committee Chairman for Troop 19. It is my privilege to welcome you to tonight's Eagle Scout Court of Honor. I hereby convene this Court of Honor for the purpose of presenting the Eagle Scout Award to Trip Jackson. Will everyone please stand, and will the escorts please bring forward the Eagle Scout to the front of the room. At this time, I would like to ask our chartered organization representative, Mr. Jim Thompson, to lead us in the invocation.
Very proud of you, Trip. I know Trip likes to sing, so I brought my songbook, and I thought instead of a prayer, I was going to go ahead and read a song to open us. When you come to the end of a Boy Scout day, and you sit in the campfire light, and the sky has turned from blue to gray, with the shades of the coming night. Do you think what the end of a good Scout day can mean in a real boy's life? When the bugle blows and the flag comes down and there's peace in the world of strife. Well, this is the end of a Boy Scout day, near the end of our journey too. And the days that are gone cannot be recalled. What have they meant to you? For we share the same tent, and side by side the streets of the old world trod. In the sun and the rain we've done our best, and we've come closer to God.
Welcome to tonight's Eagle Court of Honor. My name is Chris Vasquez. I am the current Scoutmaster of Troop 4019, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for tonight's Court of Honor. At this time, will all the Eagle Scouts in the audience please stand and be recognized? We would also like to recognize some very special guests with us here tonight. When your name is called, please stand and be recognized. Trip's Japanese teacher, Mr. Mark Wright.
Unable to be here tonight. Okay.
Okay. Trip's sophomore English teacher, Dr. Judy Bishop. First OA Chapter Ceremony Team, Cody Ryan, Kyle Hansen, and Ryan McCauley. Finally, I'd like to introduce Joe Vasquez, who will be tonight's Honor Guard leader.
Will the audience please rise? Color guard, forward march. Troop hand salute. Color guard, present the colors. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard. Prepare to post colors. Color guard, post the colors. Color guard, about face. Color guard, retreat. On my honor,
I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
2. This guy is trustworthy,
Loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
2. Scouts may be seated.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Scott. I was the Scoutmaster at Troop 19 when Tripp first came here, and you can see, well, that's a little younger than he was then. But some of the younger pictures you'll see of him, younger than that, was what he was like when he got here. He was an interesting fellow. Anyway, it is my privilege to welcome you to tonight's Eagle Scout Court of Honor. The Eagle Scout Award is the highest recognition offered by the National Council of the Boy Scouts of America. It is offered only to scouts who have successfully completed the requirements. Those requirements include merit badges representing 21 different areas of interest before the scout can even apply for the Eagle Scout Award. Specific requirements include first aid, communications, safety, citizenship, preparedness, camping, environment, personal fitness, and personal management, as well as several other areas of vocations, hobbies, and recreational subjects. He also needs to have shown leadership experience as a patrol leader or a member of the troop's staff for a minimum of 16 months. The boy must take part in at least 12 hours of service projects over that time period, and he must also give leadership to other scouts in an Eagle Scout project helpful to his religious institution, school, community, and that also has to be approved by his Scoutmaster, the troop committee, and the district committee. The character of an Eagle, candidate that is also examined, and his conduct is measured against the standards of the Scout Oath and Law. The Eagle Scout Board of Review interviews each Eagle Scout candidate before submitting the recommendation to the National Scout Council. The National Scout Council then issues the Eagle Scout Award upon approval. Tripp, did you want to make a statement?
I do. So, to put it into terms of NYLT, the vision that I can first remember having is that of being an Eagle Scout. After joining Tigers in 2003, I was immediately hooked. The years went by, one after another, with each one bringing me closer to my then end goal. Joining the BSA felt like a leap into the greater unknown, and I was excited for it, more excited than I can really say. And now, all these years later, I'm finally accepting this honor. But now I'm here, I realize something. It really is about the journey. In my years of being a scout, I've hiked miles in New Mexico at Philmont, carved and spent a night in a snow cave, witnessed the sunrise from the top of Mount Rainier, and attended the National Boy Scout Jamboree twice. And done countless other things that have affected my life in ways that I will never be able to fathom. As cliche as it may be, there are three people who I need to thank above all others: my family. So I'll start with my dad. Please stand. I'm starting with my dad because he doesn't like this kind of recognition. In fact, a couple days ago he told me that all he wanted me to do was just thank my chauffeur for what he's done, and he'll be happy with that. But he really is so much more than that. He stuck with me in good times and in bad times, giving me praise when I wanted it above anything else, and scolding me and prodding me to get my head back in the game. He's been such an amazing influence on me, and I couldn't be more thankful. You know, actually I still haven't thanked him as my chauffeur, so thanks for driving me everywhere, Dad. Alright, next up is my mom. Oh goodness, do you need some appreciation. I can't count how many times she's cooked a delicious meal, got us all to sit down, and just before we dug in, we get a phone call saying some pack needs an Arrow of Light ceremony, ASAP, Kyle. But first, she never complained about any of that kind of stuff. The closest thing she would ever do is worry that I'm not getting enough rest. She really is the most caring and compassionate woman that I've ever known. So thanks for putting up with all my hijinks over the years. Finally, I'm going to thank someone who's most certainly not expecting it. I want to thank my little sister, Sarah. Stand on up. There we go. Sarah's been great at running around dealing with my sudden absences along with my mom. But honestly, most of all, I want to apologize to you. I'm sorry for being gone so many weekends and for having to go to so many meetings here and there when I could have been home being your big brother. So thank you for being okay with all of that. But honestly, in 5 years, I'm hoping you'll be gone every weekend too. Venturing is waiting for you, and I'm sure that one day you'll be the crew president. But that's enough of my ramblings. I think I've made my point. My family is a huge part of my life, and for that I'm so grateful. Thank you. I would like to introduce some of my Eagle Scout mentors. Now, these are the people who, throughout my scouting career, have influenced me so much that it would be a crime not to thank them for all that they've done. These are the people who, no matter what happened, were always there for me and always want nothing but to help. So first off, we have two mentors who have honestly done so much, but due to one reason or another, were unable to be here tonight. Mr. Richard Schaff and Fred Heilbrunn. So can we get a round of applause for them? So first off, I will be calling up my first mentor, Mr. Tom Scott. So Mr. Scott was my first Scoutmaster. And honestly, when I came over to Boy Scouts, it was a little bit early because for one reason or another, I couldn't wait. So Mr. Scott helped me with actually even finishing up my Arrow of Light as well as transferring to the troop, and it really made me feel at home. But honestly, I think that arguably where I got my strongest bond with Mr. Scout was when I was serving one of my terms as Senior Patrol Leader. Mr. Scott is wonderful. He is simply incredible, especially at helping me do what I want. When I got here, when I was elected Senior Patrol Leader, I very much wanted to improve the troop. And the best way I could think of doing that was to bring everything up to how the handbook says it should be run. And Mr. Scott was behind me entirely with that, even many times taking heat from the committee yelling at him, "Why are you doing like that? That's not how you do it," which actually it is, but Mr. Scott has always been so patient with me, and he has been able to explain things in a way that just makes sense to me. Granted, some of those times might have been 2 hours on the phone, but Mr. Scott has done so much, especially in addition to my Eagle Scout project. He would always be there, he would fight for me, he would make phone calls, and he would always answer my calls. So, I guess, Mr. Scott, you can say what you will now.
My turn.
Your turn.
When Tripp first joined the troop, my first memory is his first summer camp with our troop, that is. And he arrived, I think, a little after everyone else, and he was this little guy, and he was a singular force of trepidation, determination, dogged determination. And that very first night, I ended up staying up with him, helping him get through, the remainder of Tenderfoot, maybe, and a good part of the way through his second class. And it was kind of a foretelling of what would happen thereafter. And like I said, singular force of nature there. But anyway, he went on to make us all very proud. Thank you very much, Tripp.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next up comes Mr. David Anderson. Will you please come forward? As one of the photos in there, you'll see me at Philmont, and I'm shaking hands with a guy who in the photo is much taller than me. and he's handing me a patch. That was the National Chief of the Order of the Arrow at the time. And ever since that day, I set the goal that one day I wanted to be National Chief of the Order of the Arrow. That is a huge ambition. And back in, I believe it was 2010, I was at the Camp Ahobus Conclave. And I sat down with Mr. Anderson, and it must have been a good hour and a half at least. And he helped me chart out my entire youth career my entire youth career in this program. Whether it be what the optimal time to run for what position or all that stuff. He made sure that I did it, but he taught me how to do it. And then later on, last year, I was elected as the Six-Maxamonte Lodge Chief, where Mr. Anderson was my lodge advisor. And Mr. Anderson was the most helpful advisor. That's not true. All these people are wonderful. One of the most helpful advisors I have ever had. I don't want to single one out above the rest. You're all great. But he was always so patient with me. For our Key 3 meetings, he would drive at least, a good hour? But yeah, very frequent. At least an hour and a half. Frequently, just to meet with me, eat dinner, plan the upcoming year, and he never once complained, and he was always enthusiastic and energetic. Mr. Anderson has just been wonderful. So for that, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now you can say what you will.
Yeah. Well, first we'll stand up for a second.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. When he had his first section position, I think you were about that tall. A little bit's happened in the yes, thank you. Yeah, I do remember that Ahobus conclave very well. We were there. Tripp actually took on the position of the show's CVC for that particular one. I believe is what you were doing
yes.
At that particular one. And miraculously, the shows were awesome. They had really stunk for the previous about 5 years, so he did a phenomenal job. And at that point in time, he was already looking to be a section chief at that event. And you must have been, what, 12? Maybe 13? You just turned?
I think 13.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, but, you know, in there. Well, this national chief idea came on, and we went, okay, Tripp, you kind of got to grow into this one. And we really did. We sat down, and it wasn't telling him what he had to do, but really guiding him. And that's been what has been a great pleasure working with you over all these years, is guiding you into making those decisions that led to your career. And I'm very pleased is that he's actually well on his way. This last fall, he ran for section chief and didn't get upset when he had to take the first vice chief position, because last weekend the section chief that was elected went on to that regional position, and now Tripp is the section chief for W1N. A great accomplishment. I expect him to run again in April and win. We've had lots of talks as to how to present himself and that to audience, to help him grow in that. He's done a phenomenal job to do it. He's taken all that to heart. I get to sit in there and watch the elections, and he did exactly what we had talked about there, and he got elected. That's fantastic. And so I do see him as a regional or a national chief at some point in time. Probably next year. That could happen. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Good job.
I would like to call up another wonderful person, Mr. Carl Nilsson.
Oh boy.
So, Mr. Nielsen here. He is, I can't stress enough because it's true about everyone. He's an incredible person. He really is. Now, 2 years ago, when I ran for chief, he sat down with me for at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, helping me not only finish up, but fine-tune, practice, rehearse, get my speech ready so that I could run for section office, which I didn't get there. But he was so helpful in that, and he knows me so well that he knows what I wanted to say, sometimes even before I knew what I wanted to say. And he was so helpful there, and it was clear that he cared about me when he was doing that. But I first met Mr. Nielsen at the 2010 Boy Scout Jamboree. I may have, I don't know, glimpsed him before then, but that's my first really solid memory of Mr. Nielsen. He was actually an assistant scoutmaster for the other troop from our area. And I didn't get to talk to him too much throughout the event until the tour afterwards, when we were touring Washington, D.C., seeing all these cool sights. And I would talk to Mr. Nielsen a lot in our downtime there. Actually, apparently, my dad says that when I came home, he was one of the highlights of my tour, which I don't doubt. He was incredible. I keep saying that word, but it's so true about all these people. Mr. Nielsen has just been an adult who, since I've known him, has just cared about me so much and is always interested in me. He's always willing to talk, give me advice, and just all of the above. He is always wonderful. So for that, I thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's extremely humbling. I remember Trip. My first encounter with Trip was when I went through my ordeal. And I came walking into the Scout Chow Hall at Fire Mountain. And Ivan and Ryan and some of the other guys were, they were getting ready, and they're all having fun, and just like every ordeal or anything we get together with the OA, there's always a lot of fun and games going on. So I'm standing there knowing nothing with my son. We're just kind of hanging out waiting to see what's going to happen to us. When all of a sudden I see this young boy, just tiny, being carried through the dining hall like Superman, and just laughing and giggling. But capturing the attention of every single person in that dining hall. A young man doesn't get this way by himself. A young man doesn't get to being the point where they're an Eagle Scout by themselves. It's a true testament to your parents of the way you are today. And I would just like to say, what a wonderful job you've done. He is a remarkable young man. The things that he will do in the future are going to be extraordinary. The things that he's shared with me about what he wants his life to be, the things he wants to do. He wants to be national chief. He'll get there. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to talk to people from the top level all the way to the bottom. And it's amazing. But the one thing that truly, it's amazing. I was able to dig through the archives and go through the OA, right? And I found your first blanket. It's amazing, but it was there. Such a small guy. And there it is. There's the first blanket. There you go. But Trip's a lot more than that. He's a lot more than just the OA. I met Trip on the Jamboree, which it was just chatterbox. I mean, all the time. It was the Trip show, and it was fun. It was exciting. Got to know Trip a little bit better there. And then I went to NYLT, and my son went, and I became one of the advisors for the NYLT. And Trip came through, and then Trip came back as a staff. So Trip was under my care in the kitchen. And they kind of treated me like, what's his name? Who's that nasty chef?
Gordon Ramsay.
Gordon Ramsay, yeah, Gordon Ramsay. And I'm constantly telling Trip, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. Trip's just like, okay, Mr. Nielsen, and go and do it, not a problem. Until one day I walk in and I'm hearing clanging in the sink, and I'm like, what is going on? And Trip is actually sitting on the ground, washing dishes in a commercial sink, and he's actually doing it. He's getting it done, and I'm like, oh my God. He's sitting there, Mr. Nielsen, look, I can wash the dishes and sit down at the same time. And I'm like, oh, where did I go wrong? Trip touched a little bit on our conversation when he ran for section. His dad and I were sitting there, and his dad was doing a wonderful job, like always, and doing a wonderful job mentoring him. Picking the right words, picking the right phrases to say. And I was sitting there and I was kind of throwing my little, 1-2s in there. Hey, Trip, just calm down, relax, and breathe. Just breathe. Trip went in, he gave his speech, and I'm standing outside the dining hall. And after it was all over, and Trip comes down, and he comes right up to me and goes, I didn't get it. And I said, that's not a problem. Don't worry, you're going to get there. Maybe not this time, but you will get there. You'll be able to do this. And it's always been that way with me and Trip. And Trip, I just want to say congratulations. And I have a little gift for you. Just because, I told you I brought props. Just because we went to Scout Jamboree, right? And you were in Troop 746, and we were 747 because we were better. We build bigger airplanes. I got you a nice patch. My last one, Troop 746, shoulder patch, and it says, Trip, you're an inspiration to all. Who knows you? Mr. Nielsen, Troop 747.
Coming up next is, he's a man who I've known for a very long time. Could I get Ryan Cully to please come forward? So, I have known Ryan for, as I said, a very long time, ever since I joined the Order of the Arrow. Actually, knowing how involved I was maybe a little bit before I joined the Order of the Arrow, when I was coming as a Cub Scout. But Ryan has been he's been a mentor figure for a very long time, especially because when I met him, he was still a youth in the Order. And one of the best memories that I have of him was not sitting in my dad's car the whole time, but a lot of the time, sitting in my dad's car, we were driving all across section W1N, which, for those of you who don't know, goes down to, oh boy, far south of...
Yeah, it's down in this way, so it's the Oregon border?
Yeah, all the way down to like Oregon border or so.
Long way.
Yeah, it's a long way, hitting 4 different scout camps, all in one day, and giving conclave promotion, and it was an awesome experience that just furthered my high ambitions in the Order, and it really just helped me see where I want to go. And now, Ryan, he really took me under his wing, because when at a Camp Piggott conclave that I went to, he actually gave me his Council of Chiefs gift. And so at the end of every conclave, the section chief chooses a gift to give to all of his COC members. And that year it was a gray vest with a Tijuan wasp here, and he gave it, and Ryan gave it to me. And that meant so much to me. I mean, granted, when I put it on, it went down to like here, and it was way too big. Actually, I wore it tonight, and it finally fits me. But that just meant so much to me, and as I said, you took me under your wing, and you're a mentor for a very long time. So for that, I thank you.
Do I get to talk now?
Yeah, no, you can talk now.
Alrighty. It's not going to be a very long speech, and I'm going to warn you guys, I get dizzy and start to vomit when I get nervous, so you're but my memories of Tripp in scouting were before he was in the Order of the Arrow. He actually did a lot of stuff with us because Tripp's father was involved with us. So Paul helped us out as a section or a chapter advisor, and the amount of passion and energy that Tripp had towards scouting actually helped fuel a lot of us that at the time were running different lodges and chapters, because Tripp didn't say no to anything. He wanted to move forward and do it, and he was always there and always full of energy. So that's something that I'll never forget from inside scouting, is the amount of passion that Tripp had for it. So, thank you.
So next up is a is that him over there? Coming up next is Ivan Lewis. Now, oh gosh, I have no idea what to say. What I have written here can't come close to conveying everything about Ivan, but I'll try. I think that if it wasn't for this man, I don't know if I would even be in the Order of the Arrow, much less if I had dedicate everything I had to it. Because just like how Ryan took me under his wing, so did Ivan for a very long time, and he's arguably the biggest inspiration that I've ever had. So I guess now I'm going to go to memories about him. But, that's dangerous. Yeah, that's dangerous. But, so it was a Camp Piggott conclave, and his team was in charge of doing the rededication ceremony. And at this point, I'd probably done a ceremony or two, but one of his guys had to bail like last minute. I'm talking hours before it happened. And so he comes up to me, this 12-year-old kid this tall, and says, "Hey, Tripp, hey, do you want to be in a ceremony in a couple hours in front of the entire section?" "Yeah, great. Here's your lines." So I memorized the lines. I'm sure I did terrible, but he was grateful.
None of us were listening to you anyway.
But that was just one of the many things that reminded me that he cared about me, and that impacted me a lot. But yeah, I've known him since a Cub Scout, and he would work with my dad a lot. I remember countless nights just sitting at Applebee's with him, and a couple other people in the chapter, just talking, planning our world domination, and Ivan has just been so inspirational to me throughout my entire life. He would drive up to all of my ceremonies. And how far was the drive tonight?
After getting lost?
Yeah.
2.5 hours.
Yeah. Oh. One way. And this man he was in my Arrow of Light ceremony, my call-out ceremony, he was in my Brotherhood ceremony, my Ordeal ceremony, and those were all, most of them were here. That's 2.5 hours right there. And then he was also, like I said, in my ordeal in Brotherhood, and he even came down for, he witnessed my vigil ceremony. At this point, he'd aged out, but he was still able to witness it. And that was at Fire Mountain, and not sure how long that drive is, but still, it's a drive. And he has just always put so much forth towards me, and for that I'm so grateful. So, now you get this.
So, we have one fundamental concern, and that is your height.
Yes.
Everybody talks about it, but yet the reality is that every time I have seen you, every time since the first time, you look different. I can't figure it out. I can't place it. In fact, the very first time that I remember having a serious conversation about you at all was honestly, I believe you had more weight in metal in the mouth than you actually, your whole body soaking wet. Your father even called it his boat, just the sheer mass and value. And I just never really could break that. And realizing as you developed from spot to spot and point to point, that visualization of you never changed. And it wasn't that it didn't change because I didn't think that I couldn't see you maturing, or I couldn't see you as a better man or a better scout, which you have become. But because your just drive and enthusiasm never changed. It's the same today as it was then. You are exactly the same person in that desperate need to just love what you're doing. So we talk about mentors. And I was thinking about this, really stressing out when I'd gotten the call to come up and be here tonight, and just really burdened with the responsibility that comes with it. And the realization of the fact that through my scouting career, being a youth at the time, the fact of the matter is that what you gave to me far outweighs the scales of scouting than anything I've ever offered you. What I have learned and what I now put to my life as a man and as a father is so hinged on what you and others that had such a dying passion for what we did do. There were so many times that I was just done with scouting, that I had no interest. And 100% you and others like you that were just so voracious with your appetite for scouting are what kept that going. And I actually have something for you. And Ryan Coley actually did this to me. So we talk about achievements that we have. We talk about advancement in scouting. And we use these as our pentacle checkpoints to know that what we've done from point A to point B has been so successful. Yes, I'm right here. Right here. We use these checkpoints and we say, okay, now we're Order of the Arrow. Now we're Brotherhood. Now we're Vigil. Now we have Fountains. Now we have Eagle. We use these checkpoints to determine what the weight of scouting is for us. But the reality is, Ryan taught me that our achievements and advancements in scouting, and in life in general, are really much more than the paper behind glass. The reality is that's all it is. The reality is that your experiences and the lives you've touched and will continue to touch far outweighs this. And so let this be a constant reminder to you that what you do from now on, and what others around you do with you, will change lives, period. However mundane that may be, that they will leave a lasting impression that will never, ever go away. And for that, I thank you more than you could possibly know. So, congratulations. Thank you.
Last, but most certainly not least, I would like to call up Mrs. Yvonne Brown. Actually, for you new scouts who might not be quite aware how the process works, in every troop there is an official Eagle Scout mentor who knows how everything works, who's there to help you, and that's their job. But Mrs. Brown, she took that job and destroyed it and just went so much farther. And she's always done so much for me throughout the many years between life and Eagle. And she would always be vouching for me. She would be helping me no matter what happened. I could call her whenever, and she would always answer the phone. And even if she didn't, she would always call me back as soon as she could. And I have called her and asked for advice and so many times, and she's always, if she didn't know the answer, she would always look up the answer and always give me the best possible conclusion. And as far as I'm aware, you've gone to bat for me several times and just been instrumental in my finally getting here today, finally getting my project done and all the paperwork completed. And for that, thank you.
Wrote something down because I don't do speeches. Says, let's start at the beginning. The first time I met Tripp, he was in a Cub Scout uniform. He had just moved here to the Geneva area, and his dad found Troop 19 website, saw this cool cabin, and they wanted to check it out. They came to the troop meeting thinking it might be a possibility of joining once he bridged. He was in a complete uniform, and he even had a hip pack on. I'm thinking, this is a fantastic kid. He's even got his 10 essentials with him. Every meeting he brings them. Well, a little while later, I saw a group of boys surrounding him, and I got a little closer, and I saw he had patches that he had traded and acquired at National Jamboree, and they were all looking at them. So, no 10 essentials, just prize patches. Being the advancement chairperson, I helped conduct rank boards with Tripp. He'd come in, he'd introduce himself, he'd recite his motto or law, and then he would wait for us to tell him to be seated. He was confident that the next rank he would achieve would be in 4 to 6 months, and he saw that his ranks were always very complete and very concise. I asked him each time, so what do you think your ultimate goal is? I'm going to be Eagle Scout. And I saw that determination when he actually contacted a member of the judicial system to come to an adult roundtable and sit with him and discuss his constitutional rights as a U.S. citizen so he could finish his first-class rank. His journey to Eagle has been full of challenges. Tripp had plenty of merit badges, but life sometimes brought challenges, and that's exactly what happened in this case. I think there were 3 proposals, 3 different workbooks completed before the final draft was sent to me in an email attachment. Several months later, I saw Tripp in Fred Meyer and said, so, how's your workbook coming along? I do this to everybody. Well, you see, my computer crashed, and I've lost everything. I said, I still have the attachment you sent me. As soon as I get home, I'll send it to you. Tripp looked surprised that I'd even kept it. And I swear I saw his misty eyes in his mother when she said thank you. I have something to give you as well. This is an Eagle Scout coin. It's my version of a challenge coin. A challenge coin they figure originally started during the Roman Empire, and it was a reward to the soldiers to be recognized for accomplishments. And I'd like to give this to you right now. You certainly earned it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is, I believe, all of my mentors who are here tonight. So, Mr. Scott, if you would like to move on.
I don't think if it's been mentioned tonight, but this is the Eagle seat. It's kind of a hot seat in our troop. It's one of those traditions that goes down before anyone who's present here would know about. Probably, well, Yvonne and Jack maybe? No? Before that?
No, it was done in the 1920s.
Oh, it doesn't go back
That's
that far.
where that
Very
wood is
good.
from.
And you can see it's been lashed together and so forth because it's had a lot of rough treatment over the years and the many eagles that have been through. Some of them a little larger than Trip, some quite a bit smaller maybe, but anyway, so he sits here in this chair. Trip, for you and for the scouts who are hoping to follow in his footsteps, I'm going to talk to you now about the Eagle Challenge. We've been talking about how Trip has been honored with having earned the Eagle Award. Well, it is also a challenge, and we'll talk about that right now. The foremost responsibility of an Eagle Scout is to live with honor. To an Eagle Scout, honor is the foundation of all character. He knows that a Scout is trustworthy is the very first point of the Scout law for a good reason. An Eagle Scout lives honorably, not only because honor is important to him, but also because it is vital to the significance of the example that he sets to all the other Scouts around him. Living honorably reflects credit upon his home, his troop, and his community. You notice on the Eagle badge that he will later earn, there's a color here. Right in the middle, there's white. May white of the Eagle badge, working on that now. May it remind you to live with honor. The second obligation of an Eagle Scout is loyalty. The Scout is true to his family, his Scout leaders, friends, school, and nation. His loyalty to his troop and brother Scouts makes him pitch in and carry at least his share of the load. All these help to build the loyalty that means devotion to community, country, and to one's own ideals. Let blue always inspire you to be loyal. The third obligation of an Eagle Scout is to be courageous. Courage has always been a quality by which men measure themselves and others. To a Scout, bravery means not only the courage to face physical danger, but to do the right thing. An Eagle Scout, Scouts in general, look forward to each day seeking to share their portion of this world's work to do. Let red represent that always for you in the future. The Eagle stands as a protector for the weak and the helpless. He aids and comforts the unfortunate and the oppressed. He holds the right of others while defending his own. He will always be prepared to put forth his best. Trip, you deserve much credit, all the credit. Well, much credit. We have parents and other leaders and of course your other fellow Scouts as well. But you deserve much credit for earning this badge. But I'd like to use a word that you may have heard a long time ago when you went through your ordeal. That was one of admonishment. And I would admonish you that this is an honor, yes, but it is also a challenge in your daily life to go forward. You should wear this award with humility, ever mindful that the Eagle Scout is looked upon as an example. May the Scout Oath and the Scout Law be your guide as you go forward and lead by example throughout your daily life.
get the honor of awarding Tripp his Eagle Badge. Tripp, I wish to congratulate you upon this achievement on behalf of Troop 4019. We are all extremely proud of your achievement and equally proud of your progress along the Scouting Trail. As a token of our pride in you, it is my honor to present this special neckerchief emblematic of all Eagle Scouts everywhere to you. Please wear this with pride in your personal achievement. I'm going to get up here. You're
You're going to get
On behalf of the National Court of Honor of the Boy Scouts of America, I would like to present this Eagle presentation kit to you.
Just like your past progress along the trail, you did not go it alone. Your fellow patrol, your troop members assisted you greatly. Your friends and those in your community supported you while you completed the service projects in the troop. But your parents supported you throughout. And it is at this time I ask them to please join us up here. Will the Eagle Escort please bring Mr. and Mrs. Jackson forward? Will you please assist me in presenting the Eagle Scout Badge to Mrs. Jackson, who will pin it on her son with high honor. Tripp, because your mother gave birth to you, nurtured you and gave you solace, comforted you and assisted in your development, I ask you to please present to her the Eagle Mom Pin, an outward symbol of your achievement, which she may wear with pride. Tripp, because your father raised you, taught you important lessons, gave you solace, comforted you, assisted in your development, and drove you all over, I ask you to please present to him the Eagle Dad Pin, an outward symbol of your achievement, which he may wear with pride. Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, would you please be seated?
Now, actually, before we move on, I wanted to do something that's a bit unconventional, just like the unconventional third person that I thanked. Would Sarah Jackson please come forward? If giving birth and raising is both deserving of a pin, I think that everything that Sarah has done in my life is equally deserving of a pin. This is actually my National Eagle Scout Association pin. But I just wanted to give this to my sister for, once again, just like I said earlier, sticking through everything and dealing with my sudden absences. Thank you.
Who have earned the rank of Eagle, please form a circle around this scout. Almost a circle.
The audience needs a view.
About you are those who have earned this honor before you. You have earned the right to join them. Please do so now. I present to you the newest Eagle Scout of Troop 4019.
On behalf of the National Court of...
Oh, actually, before that. Mr. Nielsen, could you bring that towel forward? I mean, my blanket forward? But actually, printed on here was known as the Lodge Yell. This was created for the Camp Piggott conclave a few years back. And it is what you yell. So, if you know what to yell, please follow me in Pat! Six boom ball! 6 months more kid! Rah, rah, rah! Yeah. Thank you.
Now?
You.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
You want to do a song?
No, I'm
okay.
There was this one time, though.
What? A story? Who's it about? Could it possibly be about Pat? Bring it back, firecracker, 6 boom bomb, 6 months more kid, rah, rah, rah. I think we're good now.
All right. It's your ceremony.
True.
Okay. On behalf of the National Court of Honor of the Boy Scouts of America, I hereby declare this Court of Honor closed and join with all assembled in greeting the new Eagle Scout, Trip Jackson.
Will the audience please rise? Belly guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Color guard, honor the colors. 2. Color guard, prepare to retrieve the colors. Color guards, retreat. Dismiss. Troop at ease. The audience may be seated.